Captain Aaron Wells felt the shuttle rattle like a tin can caught in the hands of a giant. Warning lights flashed across the console, red symbols screaming about engine failures, oxygen leaks, and electrical shorts. He tightened his grip on the bay, controls jaw set, eyes fixed on the swirling white storm outside the viewport. "Come on, girl, hold together," he muttered to the shuttle, though he knew the chances were slim. The frozen moon below was no friendly place. It belonged to the star system of Vera, a region known for harsh weather, deadly beasts, and storms that could shred ships out of the sky. Aaron had been sent here for survey work. Simple job. Drop down, scan the minerals, check for signs of life, and return to orbit. But a sudden burst of magnetic interference had pulled his shuttle down like an anchor. The crash came in a blur of sound and light. Metal screamed, ice shattered. The shuttle plowed into the frozen surface, sliding across jagged ridges before finally coming to rest in a valley. For a moment, Aaron only heard silence broken by the faint hum of sparking wires. He unbuckled himself, chest rising and falling as he took in the wreckage around him. Then he heard it, a sound from the back of the ship, a faint cough. Aaron spun, hand going to the emergency pistol at his side. He hadn't thought anyone else was aboard, but when he pushed open the cargo hatch, his eyes widened. There, half buried under storage crates, was a woman. Not human. Her skin glimmered faintly in the dim light, a pale silver blue. Her eyes, though weak and unfocused, were like polished crystals. And her clothes, torn but still ornate, spoke of someone important. She coughed again, struggling to push a crate off herself. Aaron rushed forward, heaving the crate aside with a grunt. "Careful," he said, kneeling beside her. "You're alive. That's something." The woman blinked up at him, her voice soft and melodic even through the pain. "You human?" "Yes," Aaron answered quickly. "Captain Aaron Wells. Who are you?" "I am Lyra," she whispered. "Daughter of House Veyron." Aaron frowned. He knew the name. House Veyron was not just any family. It was a ruling dynasty in this sector. That meant she wasn't just a passenger, she was royalty. He didn't waste time. Carefully, he helped her to her feet. She winced, clutching her arm, but her legs held steady. "Your arm's injured." "Nothing broken, I think, but we need to get warm." Lyra looked around the ruined shuttle, shivering as the icy wind pushed through the torn hull. "The cold. It will kill us." Aaron already knew that. His suit provided limited heating, but without proper shelter, the storm outside would freeze them solid by nightfall. He grabbed the survival kit from the wall and activated the emergency shelter. With a hiss, a compact thermal tent inflated on the icy floor, glowing faintly with contained warmth. "Inside," Aaron ordered. "We'll sort things out once we're safe." Lyra hesitated, her pride flickering across her face. Royals were not used to being ordered. But the storm roared louder, and her shivering betrayed her. She stepped inside without another word. Hours later, the storm still raged outside, hammering the tent with icy winds. Aaron sat near the portable heater, checking supplies. 2 days' worth of food, maybe 3 if rationed. Enough power cells for the heater to last a week. Oxygen recyclers working at half capacity. It was tight, but survivable, if rescue came. Soon. Lyra sat opposite him, silent and still, her arms wrapped around herself. Aaron noticed how her alien features, though different, carried a strange beauty. The crystal-like eyes, the delicate markings along her temples, the way her silver blue skin caught the light. But what struck him more was the way she tried to hide her shivering, even though it was clear she was freezing. "You're going to have to stay close to the heater," Aaron said. "It's the only way you'll stay warm enough." "I will endure," she replied softly, her voice trembling. Aaron frowned. Pride. He had seen it before in soldiers who refused help until it was too late. He didn't press her, though. Not yet. Night came quickly on the frozen moon. The storm quieted for a short while, leaving behind a silence almost as heavy as the wind itself. Aaron tried to sleep, but the cold seeped through even the insulated walls of the tent. He adjusted his bedroll, pulling the heat blanket tighter around himself. Then he felt movement. He opened his eyes to see Lyra kneeling beside him. Her hands trembled and her eyes avoided his. She whispered so softly he almost didn't hear it. "I need your warmth." For a moment, Aaron didn't move. He understood. Her kind might have different resistance to cold, and she was near her limit. Without speaking, he shifted the blanket aside, making space. She slipped into the bedroll, careful and hesitant, her body cold as ice against his warmth. She sighed, almost a shudder as the heat spread through her. Aaron said nothing. He only wrapped the blanket tighter around them both. She whispered, again, barely audible, "Thank you." The next morning, Aaron woke early. Lyra was still beside him, breathing steadily. He carefully slipped out of the bedroll, trying not to disturb her, and checked the tent systems again. Everything was holding for now. He stepped outside to examine the wreck. The shuttle was beyond repair, half buried in ice. Smoke rose from what was left of the engine. Still, he searched for supplies, pulling out ration packs, a portable beacon, and a damaged comms unit. He carried everything back to the tent. Lyra was awake now, sitting upright. She looked at him with guarded eyes. "You should not have helped me last night. Royals must not show weakness." Aaron set the supplies down, meeting her gaze. "If you hadn't asked for warmth, you'd be dead by morning. Pride doesn't mean much when you're frozen solid." She looked away, but he noticed the faintest hint of a smile at the corner of her lips. The day passed with work. Aaron repaired what he could, using human ingenuity to squeeze life out of damaged equipment. Lyra tried to help, though her injuries slowed her. Still, she surprised him with her knowledge of energy crystals, a common power source for her people. Together they managed to boost the portable beacon's signal, though it was still too weak to reach far. By evening, the cold returned sharper than ever. Aaron knew what would happen. Sure enough, as he lay in his bedroll, he felt her slip beside him again. This time she did not whisper. She simply leaned close, her breath soft against his neck, trusting his warmth. Aaron closed his eyes, realizing the truth. Survival on this frozen moon would not just be about rations, or heaters, or ingenuity. It would be about trust, and in the quiet of the storm, trust was slowly growing between a human explorer and an alien princess. The frozen moon showed no mercy. Every breath turned to mist. Every step crunched across sharp ice, and every moment outside the safety of the thermal tent was a fight against the cold that wanted to take their lives. Aaron Wells had survived, worse in his years as a soldier and explorer, but he had never expected to share such a desperate struggle with someone like Lyra, a princess of a powerful alien dynasty. The first night, she had slipped into his bedroll, whispering that she needed his warmth. He hadn't argued. Survival had no room for pride. Still, when the morning came and she avoided his eyes, Aaron knew she was embarrassed. But there was no time for feelings. Survival demanded work. Aaron rose early and checked the weak signal from the portable beacon. It blinked faintly, sending out short pulses, but he knew it wasn't enough. The frozen mountains that surrounded them blocked the range. If help was coming, it could take weeks, maybe longer. Lyra sat nearby, silent, her silver blue skin glowing faintly in the dim tent light. She winced as she tried to move her injured arm. "We'll need supplies," Aaron said, pulling on his insulated coat. Food, power cells, tools. The shuttle's wreckage might still have something useful. Lyra frowned. "You would go out there again? The storm has not settled. The beasts smell weakness. They will come." Aaron glanced at her. "Then we move carefully. Sitting here waiting will only kill us slower." For a moment her pride flared in her crystal-like eyes, but then she nodded. "I will go with you." Aaron wanted to argue, but he saw the stubborn set of her jaw. She was not the type to wait behind while someone else fought for her survival, so he only gave her a short nod and handed her a heated scarf from the kit. "Stay close. Don't wander." The storm outside stung their faces like 1,000 frozen needles. The sky was pale gray, the horizon a wall of jagged ice cliffs. Their boots crunched over the hard snow as they trudged back toward the wreck of the shuttle. Aaron scanned the area carefully. Watch for tracks. The predators out here hunt in packs. Lyra walked beside him, wrapped in the scarf and her damaged, royal cloak. She looked out of place like a jewel dropped into a wasteland. But her eyes moved with sharp awareness, and Aaron realized she was no sheltered child. She was learning fast. At the wreck, Aaron pried open a half-buried crate. Inside, he found ration packs, frozen but still usable. He passed a few to Lyra, who slipped them into her cloak. "This food," she said softly, turning one of the packs over in her hands. "It is plain, no flavor, yet you eat this?" Aaron smirked. "When you're out in the field, you don't care about flavor. You care about not starving." She gave him a strange look, then tucked the pack away without comment. They spent hours, scavenging, pulling free scraps of metal, cracked power cells and broken tools. Most of it was junk, but Aaron's soldier's mind was already planning how to make use of it. A bent piece of hull could be reshaped into a shield. A cracked energy core might still hold a spark. Nothing was wasted. Lyra surprised him again when she pointed to a shard of crystal embedded in the wreckage. "That is no junk. It is a Varen energy crystal. Even damaged, it can amplify a signal." Aaron pulled it free carefully. "Good eye." She lifted her chin, pride flashing again. "I was taught more than court manners. I know the lifeblood of our ships." Aaron studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Then you're more useful than I thought." To his surprise, she laughed, soft, almost musical. "And you are less rude than I expected from a human soldier." For the first time since the crash, the weight between them eased. By the time they returned to the tent, night was falling again. The temperature dropped fast, frost forming on the tent walls. Aaron set the heater to maximum, but he knew it wouldn't last forever. They would burn, through power cells if they weren't careful. As they ate the thawed ration packs, Lyra studied him. "You have seen many battles, yes? It is in your eyes. The way you move." Aaron shrugged. "I was a soldier once. Now I'm just an explorer. Fighting was never my dream." "What was your dream then?" she asked. Aaron looked into the heater's glow. "To see what's out there. To walk where no human has walked. To build something better than war." Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she said softly, "I was born into duty. My dream was never asked." He looked at her. In that moment, she wasn't a princess, wasn't a symbol of a dynasty. She was just a person, trapped on a frozen moon with him. When night deepened, the cold seeped into the tent once more. Aaron settled into his bedroll, pulling the blanket tight. He knew what was coming. And sure enough, he felt her hesitation before she moved closer. She slipped into the bedroll again, whispering, "I need your warmth." Her voice was quieter this time, less ashamed, more honest. Aaron didn't speak. He only shifted to give her space, wrapping the blanket around them both. She shivered against him, then slowly relaxed. "Do you think rescue will come?" she asked softly. "Maybe," Aaron answered. "But we can't count on it. We'll have to find another way." Her crystal eyes met his in the dim light. "Then I will stand with you. Even if I am a princess, even if I was taught to be untouchable, here I will not let pride kill me." Aaron gave a small smile. "Good. Because pride doesn't keep you warm." She let out a soft laugh, and in the silence of the frozen wastes, that sound was worth more than any treasure. Days passed. Each one tested them further. They scavenged more from the wreck. They fought the cold with every trick Aaron knew. They shared stories, her tales of palaces and courts, his of battlefields and distant stars. Slowly, trust grew between them. Lyra began to copy his methods, learning to ration food, to check gear, to keep watch during the night. She was no longer just surviving because of him. She was surviving with him. Yet every night, when the cold grew sharp and cruel, she slipped into his bedroll, and every night she whispered the same words. "I need your warmth." Aaron never refused. Because deep down, he knew the truth. On this frozen moon, her warmth was saving him too. The frozen moon was vast, endless white plains broken only by jagged cliffs of ice. Days blurred into nights, storms into silence, and still no rescue came. The beacon pulsed weakly, sending its cry into the void. But Aaron knew the truth. Help might never arrive. He studied the map on his battered datapad, its cracked screen flickering. According to its readings, an emergency beacon from the main ship might have landed miles away, beyond the ridge of mountains to the east. If they could boost their signal and call for real rescue, but it meant leaving the relative safety of their small tent. It meant walking across the open plains where storms howled and predators roamed. Aaron looked at Lyra. She sat quietly, her silver-blue skin faint in the heater's glow, her crystal eyes watching him. She was learning fast. Her hands no longer shook when she handled rations. Her movements were steadier, more deliberate. But the cold was still their enemy. "We can't wait here any longer," Aaron said finally. "The beacon won't reach far enough. We'll have to move." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Across the plains?" "Yes." He pointed to the datapad. "There's a chance the emergency beacon survived. If we can reach it, we can call for help." Lyra was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Then we go. Together." They packed what they could: ration packs, the heater, spare power cells, and blankets. Aaron fashioned sleds from broken panels of the shuttle, tying supplies with strips of metal. The cold bit hard as they stepped outside, the wind slicing against their faces. The sky was pale and heavy with clouds. Every breath froze as mist. Their boots sank into the snow, crunching with each step. For hours they walked, their sleds dragging behind them, the storm's roar in their ears. The land was endless, white hills, ice ridges, and valleys that seemed to swallow sound. At midday, they stopped to rest inside a shallow ice cave. Aaron lit a small thermal lamp and Lyra huddled close, her cloak wrapped tight. "You walk like you have done this before," she said, watching Aaron. "I've marched across deserts, mountains, battlefields," he answered. "Cold's just another enemy. You don't fight it, you outlast it." Lyra gave a faint smile. "And you think we can outlast this?" "We don't have a choice," Aaron replied simply. They pressed on. The further they went, the quieter the land seemed. The storm eased, leaving behind a silence that made every sound sharp. That was when Aaron noticed it. The faint crunch of snow that didn't belong to their steps. He raised a hand, stopping Lyra. "What is it?" she whispered. "Tracks," Aaron muttered, kneeling. He brushed snow aside and revealed claw marks in the ice. Deep, wide, fresh. Lyra's face paled. The ice wolves. Aaron remembered the old reports. Predators adapted to the cold, fast and ruthless, with white fur that blended into the snow. He scanned the horizon but saw nothing. Still, he knew they were not alone. "Stay close," he said, "and keep quiet." They moved on, more careful now. But as the sun sank behind the jagged cliffs, the howls came, long, haunting cries that echoed across the plains. Lyra froze. Aaron gripped his weapon tighter. "They found us." The first wolf appeared at the ridge, massive, with fur white as the snow and eyes glowing faintly blue. Its breath steamed in the freezing air as it growled low. Then another appeared, and another. Soon 6 of them stood against the horizon, tails low, muscles tense. "They hunt in packs," Lyra whispered. "I know," Aaron said, his voice steady. The wolves moved slowly at first, circling. Their paws made no sound as they crept closer, their bodies blending into the snow. Aaron raised his pistol, the only weapon he had salvaged, and aimed. "Get behind me." Lyra hesitated, then obeyed, though her eyes were sharp, scanning for movement. The lead wolf lunged. Aaron fired. The shot cracked across the plains, striking the beast in the shoulder. It yelped, stumbled, then snarled and rose again. The rest. "Charged, run!" Aaron shouted. They bolted, dragging their sleds across the snow. The wolves gave chase, their howls rising. Aaron fired again, hitting another wolf, but it barely slowed. "Cave!" Lyra shouted, pointing to a dark opening. In the ice ahead, they sprinted, boots slipping, hearts pounding. The wolves closed fast, claws scraping against the ice. Aaron fired shot after shot, forcing them back just enough. They dove into the cave, dragging their sleds inside. The wolves stopped at the entrance, growling, pacing, their glowing eyes watching from the dark. "They will wait," Lyra whispered. "They will not leave until we are weak." Aaron set his jaw. "Then we make them regret waiting." Inside the cave, the air was colder, but at least the walls gave shelter from the wind. Aaron set the heater near the entrance, the faint glow, casting long shadows. He checked his pistol, half a charge left. Not enough. Lyra crouched beside him, her eyes fierce. "You saved me again." Aaron shook his head. "We're not out of this yet." She looked at the sleds, at the scrap metal and broken tools they had carried. Then her eyes lit up. "We can use this." Aaron followed her gaze. The shards of hull, the damaged power cells, the crystal they had scavenged, all of it could become weapons, traps, defenses. He gave a small grin. "You're learning." Together they worked. Aaron rigged a power cell to a shard of hull, making a crude energy trap. Lyra shaped crystal fragments into sharp blades, her hands steady, despite the cold. They set traps near the entrance, hiding them under snow and ice. When the wolves came again, they would not find helpless prey. Night fell. The howls echoed closer, reverberating through the cave walls. Aaron and Lyra crouched behind their makeshift defenses, waiting. The first wolf padded inside, its eyes glowing in the dim light. It stepped onto the hidden trap, and with a flash, energy burst upward. The beast yelped, stumbling back. Another wolf lunged. Aaron fired, the shot striking true. Lyra, without hesitation, slashed at one with her crystal blade, driving it back, the mole. Cave filled with snarls, growls, and the crack of energy. The fight was desperate, close, and brutal. But side by side, human and princess stood their ground. Finally, the pack retreated, leaving behind the echo of their howls fading into the distance. Aaron collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. His pistol was nearly drained, his arms aching. Lyra sat beside him, her cloak torn, her crystal blade slick with frost. "They are gone," she whispered. "For now," Aaron said. She looked at him, her eyes bright in the dim glow. "You risked everything for me." "And you fought beside me," Aaron replied. "Not bad for a princess." For the first time she smiled, not faint, not forced, but real. That night, as the cold crept deeper than ever, they settled again into the bedroll. Lyra shivered as she pressed against him, her voice soft, the same words as always. "I need your warmth." But this time, Aaron understood it was more than survival. It was trust. It was the bond forged in fire and ice, in battles against storms and beasts. And as he closed his eyes, holding her close against the cold, he realized that trust was the strongest weapon they had. The battle with the ice wolves had left both Aaron and Lyra shaken but alive. The predators had been driven away, though Aaron knew they might return. The cold cave felt safer than the open plains, but it was no permanent shelter. For 2 days, they rested, gathered strength, and repaired their gear. Aaron checked his pistol over and over, knowing its charge was nearly spent. Lyra sharpened her crystal blades, her movements steady and determined. But their real goal still lay ahead, the emergency beacon. If it had survived the crash of the main ship, it might be their only chance to call for rescue. On the third morning, Aaron stood at the mouth of the cave, the frozen wind tugging at his coat. The sky was pale and clear, the storm having passed. He looked east, where jagged ridges cut across the horizon. Beyond those ridges lay their hope. "It's time," he said. Lyra stepped beside him, her silver blue skin catching the light, her cloak fluttering in the wind. "Then we walk, no matter what waits for us." The trek across the plains was harder now. Their sleds were lighter after using supplies, but their bodies were weaker from the constant cold. Every step felt heavier. Every breath froze before their lips. Still they pressed on. Aaron set the pace, his soldiers' instincts guiding their path. Lyra followed close, silent but strong, her eyes scanning the horizon for danger. By midday, they reached the base of the ridges. The climb was treacherous, narrow paths of ice, steep drops, and rocks coated in frost. More than once, Lyra slipped, but Aaron caught her arm each time, pulling her steady. "You're not used to this terrain," he said. She frowned. "I was raised in marble halls, not mountains of ice. But I will not be weak." Aaron gave her a small smile. "You're not weak, you're here. That's more than most could do." For the first time, she did not argue. At last, after hours of climbing, they reached the ridge's peak. From there, they saw it, a wreck half buried in the snow. It was the remains of an emergency pod from the main ship, its beacon tower still, standing, though bent and broken. "There," Aaron said, pointing. Lyra's eyes shone with relief. "We found it." They hurried down the slope, their sled sliding behind them. The pod was cracked, its walls torn open, but the beacon tower still hummed faintly. Aaron ran his hands over the controls. "Badly damaged," he muttered. "But maybe we can fix it." Lyra crouched beside him, examining the crystal core inside. "The amplifier is broken, but if we combine it with the one we found at the shuttle, it could work." Aaron nodded. "Good thinking." They worked side by side, fingers numb from the cold, tools clumsy in thick gloves. Aaron rerouted wires, patched circuits, and forced power into broken lines. Lyra carefully fitted the crystal fragments, her steady hands guiding their placement. Hours passed, but slowly, the beacon came to life. Its light flickered, then grew brighter, sending pulses into the sky. Aaron leaned back, exhausted but satisfied. "It's working. Someone out there might hear us now." Lyra allowed herself a small smile. "You have done the impossible again, human." But before Aaron could answer, a sound cut through the air. A low hum, growing louder. Engines, Aaron's, soldier instincts tensed at once. He pulled Lyra down behind the wreckage, eyes scanning the horizon. In the distance, shapes moved against the sky. Ships, low and fast, their engines glowing faintly red. "Not rescue ships," Aaron muttered. "Scavengers." Lyra's face hardened. "They come to pick the bones of the dead." Aaron's jaw tightened. "And they'll kill anyone who's still alive." The scavenger skimmers descended quickly, landing near the pod. A dozen figures disembarked, tall, lean, wrapped in scavenged armor, carrying rifles and blades. Their voices echoed, across the ice, harsh and guttural. Aaron recognized the type. He had seen them on battlefields before. Scavengers who fed on disaster, vultures who stripped wrecks and corpses for profit. "We can't let them see the beacon," he whispered. "If they take it, no one will ever find us." Lyra's crystal eyes burned with anger. "Then we fight." Aaron gave her a sharp look. "You've never fought men like these." She straightened her shoulders. "I fought wolves beside you. I can fight scavengers too." Aaron studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, but stay close." The scavengers spread out, searching the wreck. Aaron and Lyra moved quietly, staying hidden behind broken panels. Aaron checked his pistol, 2 shots left. Not enough. He gritted his teeth and pulled a shard of hull metal free, shaping it into a crude blade. Lyra already had her crystal weapon in hand, its edge sharp and glowing faintly in the cold. "On my mark," Aaron whispered. They waited until 2 scavengers wandered close, careless and laughing. Aaron struck first, leaping from cover and slamming his blade into one's chest. The second raised his rifle, but Lyra moved like lightning, her crystal blade flashing. The scavenger fell, silent in the snow. The others shouted, weapons raised. The fight began. The scavengers charged, firing wild shots that sparked against the wreckage. Aaron ducked behind cover, returning fire with his last shots, dropping 2 more enemies. When his pistol clicked empty, he tossed it aside and grabbed another piece of metal, fighting hand to hand. Lyra moved beside him, quick and fierce, her blade slicing through the air. She was not trained like a soldier, but she fought with a determination that made up for lack of skill. They held their ground, forcing the scavengers back step by step. But the enemy kept coming, more of them pouring from the skimmers. Aaron's chest heaved, his arms heavy, but he did not falter. He had fought battles before, and he would not let scavengers take this beacon. Lyra, too, stood tall, her cloak torn, her blade glowing with frost. "For my people," she cried, driving back another foe. For a moment, the scavengers hesitated. They had expected easy prey, not two warriors standing firm in the snow. Aaron saw their hesitation and shouted, his voice carrying across the frozen plains. "You want the beacon? You'll have to go through me." The scavengers faltered. Then, slowly they began to retreat, dragging their wounded, snarling curses, their skimmers lifted into the air, engines roaring as they fled into the distance. The battlefield fell silent again. Aaron sank to his knees, exhausted. His breath came in harsh clouds. Lyra knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "You fought like a true warrior," she said softly. "So did you," Aaron replied, meeting her eyes. Not bad for a princess. For once she did not bristle at the word. Instead she smiled faintly. The beacon still pulsed, brighter now, its signal strong. Aaron looked at it, then at Lyra. "They'll come. Someone will hear us now." Lyra's eyes softened. "And when they do, I will tell them who saved me. Not just a human explorer, but a man who gave me warmth, who fought beside me, who never gave up." Aaron felt a strange warmth rise in his chest, stronger than the heater, stronger than the bedroll. He only nodded, too tired to speak. That night, as they settled once more into the bedroll, Lyra pressed close, whispering the same words she always did. "I need your warmth." But this time, Aaron understood something new. It was not only the cold she feared. It was the thought of losing him, and as the beacon's light pulsed against the frozen sky, Aaron knew their fight was not over. Enemies had been driven away, but greater challenges were still to come. The beacon pulsed steadily into the frozen sky, a lonely heartbeat calling out across the void. Aaron and Lyra had defended it with everything they had, and now, for the first time since the crash, hope felt real. But hope was fragile. They stayed, hidden in the broken pod for 2 days, resting, guarding the beacon, and keeping watch for scavengers. The memory of the fight still lingered in their bones. Every sound in the wind, every shadow across the ice, made Aaron grip his makeshift blade tighter. Lyra, though bruised and tired, moved with quiet determination. She spent hours tending the beacon's core, making sure the signal remained strong. "If it falters even for a moment, the void may swallow our message," she warned. Aaron nodded. "Then we keep it burning. Someone will hear." Yet both of them knew the truth. Rescue was not guaranteed. The galaxy was vast. Signals were weak. And not all who came would be friends. On the third morning, the sky changed. Aaron spotted it first, a glimmer high above, faint but growing, brighter. At first he thought it was another storm, sunlight catching on ice crystals. But the glimmer grew into a shape, sharp and metallic, descending with controlled grace. "A ship," Aaron whispered. His heart pounded. Lyra climbed beside him, her eyes wide. "Do you know its markings?" Aaron narrowed his gaze. The ship was sleek, built for speed, with dark armor and glowing engines. Not scavenger design, military, but not human either. He shook his head. "Not sure. Could be allies. Could be worse." The ship circled once, scanning, then descended slowly onto the ridge. Snow whipped around its landing struts as the engines powered down. Aaron tightened his grip on his blade. "Stay behind me, just in case." Lyra gave a sharp nod, her crystal blade ready in her hand. The hatch opened and armored figures emerged. Tall, broad, their armor gleaming with sigils Aaron did not recognize. Their weapons were advanced, energy rifles slung across their shoulders. One stepped forward, helmeted face turning toward the beacon. His voice echoed through a speaker, deep and commanding. Signal detected. Survivors present. Identify yourselves. Aaron stepped out from cover, raising one hand slowly to show he was unarmed. Aaron Cole, human, explorer ship Horizon Dawn, crashed during the storm. The soldiers exchanged looks, then the leader gestured. And her? Lyra stepped forward, her cloak billowing in the wind, her crystal eyes glowing faintly. Lyra Vera, daughter of the House of Silurian, princess of the Crystal Dominion. The soldiers froze, helmets tilted. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then as one, they lowered their weapons and bowed. Aaron blinked. Wait, what? Lyra's voice was calm, but carried weight. You know my name. The leader removed his helmet, revealing a stern face marked with scars. We do, my lady. The Crystal Dominion thought you lost to the void. Your return will change everything. Aaron turned to Lyra, stunned. Princess? Lyra finally met his eyes. She had hidden many truths, but now the weight of them pressed forward. I did not lie, Aaron. I told you I was born in marble halls, but I did not tell you those halls were the royal palace of my people. Aaron exhaled slowly. Well, that explains a lot. The soldiers escorted them aboard the ship, treating Lyra with reverence. Aaron, though treated with less formality, was still respected as her protector. Inside, the warmth of the ship was overwhelming after weeks in the frozen wastes. Aaron almost collapsed when he felt heat against his skin again. Lyra touched his arm gently. You kept me alive when even soldiers would have failed. Do not think your worth is less. Aaron gave her a small smile. You slipped into my bedroll. Remember? You kept me alive too. She did not deny it. As the ship lifted into the sky, Aaron looked through the viewport at the frozen world below. It already seemed like a dream, an endless nightmare of snow, storms, wolves, and scavengers. Yet it was also the place where he and Lyra had fought side by side, where trust had been forged in the fire of survival. The commander of the soldiers approached. Princess, we will return you to Silurian space at once. Your family will want to see you. Lyra nodded, but her eyes lingered on Aaron. And him? The commander hesitated. He is human, from Earth. His people are not aligned with the Dominion. We cannot guarantee. Lyra's voice sharpened, carrying the authority of her station. He saved me. He stays. The commander lowered his head. As you command. Aaron raised a brow. Guess I don't get a vote. Lyra's lips curved faintly. Not when I am the one giving orders. Days passed aboard the ship as they traveled through the void. Aaron healed, his body slowly recovering from exhaustion. Lyra, meanwhile, prepared herself for her return. She dressed once more in the garments of royalty, her presence commanding, her voice practiced in diplomacy, but in the quiet hours, she still found her way to Aaron's quarters. Not because of the cold now, but because habit had turned into something deeper. Each time she entered, she whispered the same words. I need your warmth. And each time, Aaron understood more clearly. It was not just physical warmth she sought. It was trust, companionship, a bond she had not expected to find with a human far from her world. At last, the ship reached the Crystal Dominion. Aaron had never seen anything like it. From orbit, the capital world shimmered with towers of glass and crystal, glowing softly with inner light. Starships drifted like jewels across the sky. It was beauty and power combined, a civilization unlike anything humans had built. The docking bay was filled with guards, nobles, and dignitaries. When Lyra stepped onto the platform, a great cheer rose from the crowd. Her family rushed forward, tears in their eyes. Aaron stood back, unsure where he belonged. He was just a human explorer who had stumbled into something far larger than himself. But then Lyra turned, her voice carrying across the chamber. This man saved me when all others failed. He is my protector, my companion, and he will stand beside me. Gasps rippled through the nobles. Whispers spread like fire. A human standing beside the princess? Impossible. scandalous. But Lyra's gaze was steady, unshaken. She would not let them dismiss him. That night, in the quiet of the palace, Aaron looked out at the glittering city. Lyra joined him, her cloak trailing softly behind her. "You didn't have to speak for me," Aaron said quietly. "I did," Lyra replied, "because what we endured on that frozen world, it cannot be forgotten. You are part of my story now." Aaron chuckled softly. "Some story. A human explorer and a crystal princess fighting wolves and scavengers, sleeping in the same bedroll just to stay alive." Lyra's voice softened, almost a whisper. "It began as survival, but it became more." Aaron turned to her, surprised. She met his eyes, her expression unguarded for the first time. "I needed your warmth, Aaron, not just of body, but of spirit. You gave me strength when I had none, and I find I cannot let that go." Aaron's chest tightened. He had faced storms, beasts, and battles, but this, her honesty, felt heavier than all of it. He placed a hand over hers. "Then I'm not letting go either." The galaxy would soon learn that the lost princess had returned, and that a human stood beside her. Alliances would shift, empires would tremble. But for Aaron and Lyra, the memory of that frozen world would always remain, not as a tale of fear or suffering, but as the place where two lives had intertwined, bound by fire, frost, and shared warmth. And though Lyra no longer needed to slip into his bedroll to survive, she still did. Not because of the cold, but because some habits born in struggle were too precious to abandon.